I am sorry, I made a mistake. You take responsibility.
Yes.
That's why. So my friend Nina Rosenwald asked me this morning, what can be done? And what can be done? Can you force 1.3 billion people to change? Just give them the freedom and count them the very next day. Give them the freedom to choose and count them there and tell me they are 1.3 billion. And I truly believe the King Abdullah can change Islam overnight, but you need to put pressure on him to do it. And the same kind of pressure you put on Japan, you might need it to be changed. Yes. Eventually, the West will need to do it. You have to put huge pressure on him to change Islam. This is the only way. I tell you a story. I read it. I'm 100% sure it's true. King Abdullah invited a group of imams to his palace to issue a fatwa that Muslims in Saudi Arabia can use satellite. They thought and thought and thought, and they said, King, we cannot do it because Muhammad had never had satellite. So they eat and spend sometimes at the palace and left. At the very same spot, each one of them left his brand new car, found a camel waiting, and the car was gone. So in the very same time, they issued the fatwa. So don't tell me King Abdullah cannot do it. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you. God bless America. Please, if I didn't cover anything you would like to hear from me included in your question. Yes.
I was going to say we can have
Yes.
Q&A, and I have a question, and then I will leave you all.
Yeah,
I have read your wonderful book, and I have wept through her wonderful book. It is a marvelous insight into Islam in Syria.
Yes.
One of the things that was outstanding to me, many things. One of the things that was outstanding was that there was a young gas station attendant in your book
Yes.
who was late one day. And what had happened was he went and he got his American citizenship. And that was his excuse. And you said, congratulations, how wonderful
Yes,
you've become
exactly.
an American citizen.
Yeah.
And I can't even paraphrase what you said. And he said, Madam, are you a Muslim? Something, or Mrs., are you a sister? Are
Yes,
you a
sister.
Sister, are you a
Why you are congratulating me?
Congratulating me.
In Arabic, I said it. So he said, aren't you Muslim? I said, yes. He said, the American citizen is on my shoes. And in Arabic, it's a big deal to put something on your shoes.
On the bottom of my shoe.
On the bottom of my shoes.
So coming back to moderate Muslim and all the American Muslims that we have here, who have been born here, is there an answer, an insight that you have, or does it have to come from Saudi Arabia, in your opinion?
You're talking about the moderate.
People who are here, who are American citizens, who are Muslim students of America, who are Americans.
I believe there must be some moderate Muslims, but I can divide them in three groups. The majority of them are not familiar with Islamic teachings. You have to take into consideration that 80% of the world Muslim population are non-Arab Muslims. And 60% of the world Muslim population is illiterate. They don't know how to read and write. Islam is a pure Arabic religion. And in order to fully understand Islam, you must know how to read and write in Arabic. So the majority of them don't know much about Islamic teachings, and out of fear, they don't want to speak up. A huge number of them are using the concept of al-taqiyya, which allow Muslims to hide, conceal their feeling, their true feeling, and their true beliefs, as long as non-Muslims have the upper hand. And a small part of the moderate people, they progress, consciously progress beyond their teachings. And for the same reason, out of the fear, they cannot speak up against it. Believe me, it is not easy to go against Islam. From my own experience, it's very draining and exhausting mission. Could you, as a mother, every day receive emails telling you, we know what schools your children go to, just wait and see. Can you deal with this issue on daily basis? It's not easy. Every day I leave my house, I can hear the bullets. And I tell myself, who cares? Who cares? It's a life of my choice. Who cares? I wrote a book. They cannot kill the book. Every day I have to deal with it. So it's not easy.
You gave up your freedom.
It is at the same time, it's not an excuse not to speak up. You know, I reach a point where I cannot feel my fear anymore because it's too huge and too hard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Could you explain something then which certainly mystifies me? Americans of Christian or Jewish background, and American women too, converting to Islam. What is it? What is the appeal?
I believe some people here are growing up without structures in their life. Their life is very loose. When they are introduced to Muslims, Muslims show them how structured, you know, how Islam structures human life, and they like it. That's the only explanation I can come with. Yes, sir.
I just came back from Egypt, and we noticed in Egypt about 90% of the women were dressed in some version of the Muslim head covers or total body coverings, okay. Including we were at the University of Alexandria at the library, and mainly young girls there, and virtually all of them were dressed in the Muslim style. Okay. Now, my question is this. Is this a social phenomenon? In other words, is that they just put this on because it's easier to live in a society?
Of course.
Or does it really reflect a kind of underlying change in the values of this country? Because when I spoke to people who've been there before, even people who grew up in Egypt, they said this was never the case.
It started to happen after September 11 and after going to Iraq and Afghanistan. They felt like they are attacking our Islam. So we need to go back to the roots of Islam. And regarding, you know, sometimes I hear from Muslim women, it's our choice to cover our... It might be their decision, but it's not their choice. I tell you a story. In 2003, I went to Syria for the first time after I left, before my interview on Al Jazeera, and I had my American friend with me. So we visited a small Syrian island in the Mediterranean Sea, and my American friend noticed that many women in this island were covering themselves, not like any other Syrian city. So when she asked me this question, I turned to our guy. He was like 25 years old, and I asked him, are all women in this island covered? Without hesitate, you know, he said, except some whores. So the point is, women, if I had to live in this island, I would cover myself to avoid being called bad names. So that's why, if you live in this island, you would do it. So this is the situation is.